Shares of the online movie rental service are up more than 30% this year. The best stock on the S&P 500. How high or low, for that matter, does it go? It depends on who you ask. We've got three views right now in 3 versus Trish. We've got Tony Wible. He's a fundamental analyst at Janney Montgomery Scott. He's at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Katie Stockton is chief market technician at MKM Partners, and she's watching the charts for us. Also, Scott Bauer, president of SIB Equity Options, has the trade from the CME Group in Chicago. Welcome to all of you. Tony, I'm going to kick it off with you. You get a sell rating on Netflix. You get a price target of $49. That's about half what it's trading at right now. Why are you so pessimistic?
Well, I think the big thing is that while we're going to see a rebound in subscribers, those subscribers just really aren't worth as much as they used to be. It's been revealed for the first time that 80% of the profit of this company is from a DVD business, and I just don't think you should put a 25 multiple on that. Not to mention, you still have the classical issues of the fact that this is a business that's facing more competition and rising content costs, and it's changing literally by the day.
Why do people like it so much then, Tony? I mean, is this all M&A speculation that's getting built into the price?
Well, if you look closely at the charts, it was almost to the moment where it was suggested that Yahoo would be acquiring Netflix that you saw this inflection. And then I think there's basically a momentum ride here where people are trying to find the greater fool to buy the stock from them in the future. I mean, Netflix at $300 was also in that momentum trap area, but the reality is they'll report the sub numbers, the subs will be there, but then when people probably look at the guidance and look at the low margins behind the sub business, they'll realize the stock's overvalued.
Okay, well, you mentioned the charts. I want to go to the chart expert. Katie, you're watching these charts and it's telling you a very different story.
Right. He hit the nail on the head with the word momentum. It's really a momentum darling is what I like to call it. We obviously have a very high beta stock that we're discussing here. And what happens is that that momentum sometimes just overrides the fundamental issues. We've obviously seen that already year to date with the 24% rise. It's obviously been outperforming the S&P 500 pretty significantly after a 60% decline last year. So those inklings actually have really improved my momentum and relative strength indicators to the point where we have a new buy signal. In fact, on an intermediate term basis, looking at something called the weekly MACD indicator, a very popular technical tool, that indicator is now on a buy signal after having been on a sell signal since early August of last year. So that's actually pretty exciting to me from an intermediate term perspective.
Scott, I just got 20 minutes left before the market close. What would you recommend from an options perspective I go out and do?
Well, here's what I like in Netflix. We've seen this big rise up recently. Let's take advantage of this. If I buy one February 105 call and sell 2 February 120 calls, I can do that for either even or even possibly a little credit to me. What that does, that gives me upside protection in the stock over the next 5 weeks or so through February expiration, all the way up to 135. So this trade is profitable to me up to 135.
So you really think it goes that high?
Well, no, I don't in the short run, but I do think that it is bullish in the short run. I do think we have a probably $10 to $20 range, where if that's what happens here, that's golden for me, and I have no downside risk to this trade.
Okay, Tony, 2 against 1 right here. How do you refute what they're saying here? You got a couple of bulls, and you still have that $49 price target.
You know, in some way, I think they're actually agreeing with me. The stock's become unconnected with the fundamentals. And now keep this in mind. The stock, even where it's at today, is off $11.5 billion from its high. So if you shorted it at $300, you're basically looking at a 10% snapback from the bottom. And stocks do that. They come back, and then that gives you an opportunity to short or sell it again.
Well, it brings up an interesting argument, and one that we like to dive into all the time, and it's the technical versus the fundamental. I mean, Katie, how much longer can this momentum continue? Because a lot of this is going to be about timing. I mean, if you're a fundamental analyst, you're looking at the long term here, and maybe it doesn't look so good, but you as a technician, when you look at the timing of this, how much longer do you anticipate the run?
There's really no telling, but this buy signal that we have is intermediate term in nature, and that tends to give you a couple of months of follow through. We can pay attention to the resistance and support levels on the chart as a gauge of potential upside and downside. Right now, I actually think it's in store for a very brief short-term pullback and would be a buyer of weakness. I would also point out that October we saw a gap down in Netflix, and that gap actually leaves a vacuum on the chart up to about 115. So I ultimately think that that gap will be filled. And that, of course, takes it above the very psychologically significant $100 level. So all of these things would be good developments for Netflix.
Okay, good points from all of you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Tony Wible of Janney Montgomery Scott, Katie Stockton of MKM Partners, Scott Bauer of SIB Equity Options from the CME Group. Here's the cheat sheet. If you missed 3 versus Trish, we're going to boil it all down for you. Sell Netflix, says the fundamental take, but the technicians say we've got a strong buy signal on the stock, and from the trading floor, a bullish short-term options trade.